In Sports Talk, back into the video today, and today the Houston Astros lose the New York Mets 3-1 in their second game of the regular season and go to 1-1. The Mets go to 1-1, and now look at the records of these two teams, and you can say both teams have a better record than they did through two games last season. The Mets start off 0-5, the Astros start off 0-4 and 1-5, and so the Mets get their first win 3 games earlier than they did last year. The Astros got their first win yesterday and got that first win 3 games earlier than they did last year as well. So both teams already off to a better start than they were last season. But we'll see how this series plays out tomorrow when it ends tomorrow on Saturday. But scores reverse. Yesterday was 3-1. Astros got the dub, and it reversed today in the Mets' favor, 3-1. 5 hits for the Mets. I mean, neither of these games have been offensive games. The Astros had 7 hits yesterday. The Mets only had 4. Today, the Astros only had 3. The Mets had 5. So in this series, the Mets aren't even at double-digit hits at 9. The Astros only have 10. So there's only 19 hits in this series so far, 2 games between both teams. It's been a pitching series, especially when the Astros have had Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez in their two games pitching for them. And T-Lord Miguel pitched great today for the Mets. So it's been a pitching series so far, especially since there's only been 8 runs scored in the first 2 games. All right, one error that went to the Astros, and win goes to Miguel. He's 1-0 on the year now. 5 innings, 3 hits given up, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 earned run. Hunter Brown gets the loss. 0-1 now, 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, 3 walks. I thought Hunter Brown looked good going up against a great New York Mets lineup. There was some, the second inning was really rough for Hunter, but outside of that, I thought it was a really good day for Hunter Brown. A lot better than what he started off last year going up against the other New York team, the Yankees. And I talked about how key it is for Hunter Brown this year to get off to a good start and not start off his season like he did last year. It was terrible. And so you love seeing Hunter Brown get off to a great start today with 6 innings, 7 Ks, only 4 hits and 2 earned runs given up. Now, you did give up 3 runs given up. There was 3 runs given up, but only 2 were earned. Save goes to Edwin Diaz. He had a strikeout, pitched the 9th, gave up no damage, and that was it. Scoring summary, there were no runs scored after the 4th inning. There was a 2-run second inning for this Mets team. Ventos doubled to left, and Nimmo scored. That was the run that Brown gave up that was not earned run because of a mistake that we saw Brendan Rodgers make, which I believe was the error the Astros got in this game. Nimmo tried to steal. Hunter Brown got him, and Brendan Rodgers was not ready for the ball when Hunter Brown threw him the ball, and Nimmo was able to score. Nimmo was able to get to second base and then eventually score, and Ventos hit the RBI double. And look, it was a bad play by Rodgers, but I don't think it means much to me, just in my opinion, because look, if the Astros would have lost 3-2, or would have sent this game to extra innings 3-3 and then lost in extra innings, I think it's a different story, because then you look at it and say, okay, then the Astros, they would have that would have been a difference, because they would have either won or sent it to extra innings if they would have scored an extra or 2 extra runs. But they didn't. If that mistake is not made by Brendan Rodgers, it's a 2-1 game. It doesn't really change anything. So, but yeah, and then Jesse Winker hit RBI single to center. Ventos scored. It's 2-0, and then Soto in the 3rd inning sent one deep, 390 feet, 3-0. Last year's first home run of the season came in Houston at Minute Maid Park. Same thing goes for this year. But different name this year, Dyken Park. The Astros' only run came for Yordan Álvarez, getting his first RBI of the year, sacrifice fly to right. Altuve scored. Weird thing about the Astros' runs so far, and how they've brought them in. 5 runs scored so far for this Astros team. Now, one of them was brought in off of a fielder's choice that was not an RBI. It was a error. The other came from a fielder's choice that was not an error, an RBI for Jake Myers. Then 2 sac flies for Yordan Álvarez and Jake Myers, I want to say. No, Yordan Álvarez, I can't remember the 2 sac flies. Yordan Álvarez had one today, and there was another one yesterday. And then RBI single for Yainer Diaz. So the only run scored for the Astros, there's only 1 run scored for the Astros so far, out of 5 runs in the 2 games that are bringing in runs through hits. And that's Yainer Diaz's RBI single. So that's interesting. But I guess that's not too crazy to think when you look at that there are only 10 hits in the last 2 games. And no home runs through two games either. But yeah, so Yordan hit his sacrifice fly in the 4th inning. It's been a rough start to his season so far. Now he has a couple of walks, to be fair. I mean, he has a total of 3 walks so far this season, but hasn't yet to have his first hit. He got off to a rough start last season as well. I think tomorrow is the day for Yordan Álvarez to get going. Griffin Canning is on the mound. Yordan has great numbers against him. I believe it's like 7 for 13 or something that Yordan is against Canning. So watch out for Yordan Álvarez to have his best game of the season, or not his best game of the season so far tomorrow. Let's get to individual batters. Jose Altuve was really the only guy offensively that showed up tonight. He struck out in his first at bat. It was a rough start, swung at some really bad pitches. But then the 4th inning, after that, starts to get it going. 6th inning, 4th inning, RBI single to center. 6th inning, single to left. Myers to second. 8th inning walk, 2 for 3 with a run scored for Tuve after going 1 for 4 yesterday. And then, Isaac Paredes gets his first hit as an Astro. It's a really nice hit. 4th inning single to left down the left field line. Altuve gets to third. I would say the only upset thing I would say about this hit for Isaac is that I guess he's wearing Martin Maldonado's, he's got Martin Maldonado's speed is what I'm saying. For most players, this single for Isaac would be a double for most players, but instead it was only a single for Isaac. I'll tell you what, I think it's much better offensively and some of the plays he's made so far defensively at third base. Much better of a player than Martin Maldonado, but sharing that same number that Martin Maldonado had, he definitely has, the bad speed. That was a little frustrating, but I think we're going to see that a little bit with Isaac, maybe some speed issues, but I thought today in a couple of his at-bats, he showed that he's going to have a lot of power. Like his last at-bat was a fly out to in the 8th inning and, sending it out to left. I mean, got a little bit under it, could have sent it out for the Astros. But I think he showed so far in the first 2 games with him making contact to left field is that when the Astros play their 81 games at Dyken Park this year, you're going to see some nice contact to left field, whether it's doubles off the walls or home runs. He's going to love the Crawford boxes. He hasn't clicked just quite yet with sending one out, whether it's a home run or it's off the wall. He hasn't got there yet, but he's showing some power there and he's trying to get it. And I wouldn't be surprised. We see a total of 4 more games played at Dyken Park before the Astros go to the road for the first time. They got 1 more game against the Mets, 3 against the Giants. I wouldn't be surprised if Isaac starts to get connected a little bit, sending some baseballs out to left field, whether it's home runs or extra base hits being doubles. We'll see what he can do. I think he's going to start to show some powers over the next 4 games, that the Astros have playing at Dyken Park before they go on the road for the first time. Like I mentioned, Yordan Álvarez was 0 for 2. He had a sac fly. He had a walk. It wasn't terrible. Yordan's still trying to get comfortable. Had a rough spring. So, like I said, I think tomorrow's the perfect day for Yordan Álvarez to get going with his numbers against Griffin Canning. Christian Walker really struggled today, went 0 for 4. And he faced some guys today that he's hit home runs off of before. I mean, facing Tylor Miguel, he hit a home run off of him. Then later on he faced Reed Garrett, hit a home run off of him. And still was having a tough time. Struck out swinging twice, ground out to shortstop, lined out to right. But I think he's looked solid defensively so far. And had a nice single. Had a nice single as well the other day. And he made a lot of contact yesterday. So it was a rough day today, but I thought yesterday was a solid debut for him. We'll see how he can continue to play. It's too early. Yainer Diaz honestly was not expecting much against him. was not expecting much for Yanner Diaz at all in this game. He had really tough numbers going into this one. Going up against Tylor Miguel, was 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts going up against Miguel. He struck out again today facing him. And then his 6th inning at bat, I don't know what his numbers were against the pitcher in the 6th inning, Reed Garrett. I don't think he faced him at all before that. But then your 9th inning at bat, you're having to face a guy like Edwin Diaz. So he struck out twice today. Had a solid day yesterday, but not so much today for Yanner Diaz. And then Jeremy Pena, 0 for 4. Yeah, I mean, 0 for 4, bad day for JP. But I thought it was a really good day for him yesterday. And I think this thing I will say with him so far this season is I like how the fact is, yes, he's 1 for 7 to start off the season. There's been some struggles at the plate, 1 for 7. But there have been no strikeouts so far for JP. Last year, striking out was a huge issue for Jeremy Pena, and had a lot of really bad issues with striking out and swinging at really bad pitches. I haven't seen a lot of that so far. He's facing Edwin Diaz, took a couple strikes and his last at bat, but was still able to make some contact with it, flying out to left. He had a fly out in the 5th inning, put some really nice contact on it. Just didn't go a little bit farther. Might have been a double for Jeremy Pena. So it was a rough day, but he was making contact with it, and I think the thing that we've seen so far is he's not swinging at bad pitches like he was really badly last year, and not striking out. I know it's only 7 at-bats, but we saw that in spring training as well for Jeremy Pena. I think he only struck out like 3 times in 40 at-bats, something like that. So was doing a great job of not striking out in spring. He's carried that over to the regular season so far. I'm excited to see if that can continue to happen. Cam Smith looked good today. I mean, 0 for 2, struck out and flied out, but had 2 walks for the Astros. Not a lot of walks for the Astros team today. Altuve had a walk, yes, and Yordan did as well. But outside of that, there was not a lot of walks for the Astros team. Brennan, you saw Cam Smith have, 2 walks. The team had 4 today, and so he had half the walks, and he had 2 walks. I thought he was... he took some really nice pitches, and even in his last at bat in the 9th inning, had a solid at bat going up against a guy like Edwin Diaz. I think that's probably one of the toughest pitchers he's ever seen in his life. And Cam Smith, what ends up happening? He had a good count. He had, I think it was 3-1, 3-2, and he took a swing at it and flied out to right. So I thought that was a solid at bat going up against a guy like Edwin Diaz. So not terrible so far. He had a hit yesterday, went 1 for 3, walked twice today. I think it's solid so far for Cam Smith. Then Brendan Rodgers went 0 for 3 today. Look, I said it talking about this game earlier. I don't know why Brendan Rodgers was in the starting lineup today. I know Mauricio Dubon looked terrible in spring training, but this was a good chance to get him going. With Tylor Miguel, pitching today for the New York Mets, Dubon in his career 2 for 4 against Miguel. Out of all Astros players, had the best numbers going up against him. I know Brendan Rodgers had a solid day yesterday, looked solid defensively at second base, had a really nice walk for the Astros, which was key in the 2nd inning where they scored a run. So it was solid yesterday. But I thought this was a day where you need to put Dubon in the lineup because of his numbers facing Miguel. That didn't happen. Brendan Rodgers made a tough, mistake defensively at second base when Nimmo, tried, stealing and should have been caught, but Rodgers made the mistake. But also, I will say this, and I think the reason Astros fans are going to like Brendan Rodgers is because what he does defensively. After that defensive mistake by Brendan Rodgers, he started to kill it defensively. Literally, that inning made a really nice play to get the Astros out of a tough spot and had a nice double play. He had some other really nice defensive plays. Was a part of about 2 or 3 double plays today. So Brendan Rodgers, I thought after that defensive mistake, did a really good job defensively. But I still thought this was a key way to get Dubon going offensively by having him face against a guy in Tylor Miguel, who's had a lot of success, his success in his career. Jake Myers went 0 for 3 today, struck out 3 times, but he was able to reach base off the wild pitch by Miguel. And so reached base in the 6th inning, but was 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Had a really good day. But, he did in the first inning. He did have an amazing catch to end the first inning. That was hit by Pete Alonso. Great catch by Jake Myers. So you love to see that. And yeah, like I mentioned, Hunter Brown pitched 6 innings, looked great. Stephen Okert pitched the 7th for the Astros and looked good in his first game against the Astros. You had guys like Stephen Okert and Luis Contreras who pitched perfect perfect baseball in spring training, both not giving up a single earned run in spring. And they both pitched amazing today. Okert pitched the 7th and had 2 strikeouts, giving up no hits, no earned runs, no walks. Taylor Scott had a rough. It wasn't terrible, but not amazing in the 8th inning. Only was able to get 2 outs in that inning, gave up a hit, 12 pitches. They brought in Brian King to get the last out, and he got it, pitching only 5 pitches. And then Luis Contreras came out there in the 9th inning, got 2 strikeouts, got the inning done in 16 pitches in the 9th. And like I said, 2 guys who both didn't give up any earned runs in spring. And Okert and Contreras, were able to, in their 2 innings, get 4 strikeouts, 2 each, and have solid outings for the Astros. So I thought the pitching was good today. It was just the offense. And I would say the offense was a problem yesterday too. I mean, let's be honest. The offense was not amazing yesterday. They only scored 3 runs. The Astros won because of the amazing performance of Framber Valdez and the offense that guys like Jake Myers and Yanner Diaz and Cam Smith had yesterday to get them going. So the Astros didn't win yesterday because of their offense. They won because they're pitching and a couple guys on the offensive lineup helping out. But today, I mean, really there was only 2 guys that showed up. There were only 2 guys that had hits today. Altuve had 2. Isak had 1. Those were really the only 2 guys that were actually good in the lineup today, outside of Cam Smith getting 2 walks. So it was a rough day, but I predict the Astros tomorrow. There's my prediction. I predict the Astros have a really good day against the Mets, going up against Griffin Canning. It's the guy that the Astros have good numbers against. I think the Astros score more runs tomorrow than they have the last 2 days, which it's not hard to do that because all you got to do is score 5 runs to do that. But I think tomorrow's a good day for the Astros, and I think they get the series win tomorrow against the Mets. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comment section, and peace out. Go Astros.